NFL Draft, Brant, coming live to us this Thursday right here in Detroit. It's exciting. We haven't talked Lions here in quite a while. There's been a lot of movement. You know, you've got the trade for Carlton Davis. They did give up a 3rd round pick for that. You got the signing of DJ Reader. I know people really liked, amongst some other moves as well. I want to kind of zero in though on draft night for Brad Holmes. The Lions have, I believe, the 29th pick overall. They've got their 2nd round pick and at least one of those 2 3rd round picks. I believe it belongs to the Vikings. And we don't need to go all the way through the draft, but I want to know, Brant, what are your top needs kind of in each of those tiers, or maybe you can't define it that way, but you know, if the Lions are sitting there at the end of the 1st round, what are you hoping that Brad Holmes does with that pick?
I think certainly corner's got to be in play for this team right now. I also believe receiver, it could definitely be a player here. Dave, I know you and I talked about this too. It's like if they go and they want to run 12 personnel and they want to get a tight end and Brock Bowers keeps slipping and they're eyeing him and Brad wants to move up to go get his guy. Brock Bowers seems like a Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell guy, workaholic, will do whatever it takes on every down type of dude. But I think those are the 3 positions of most need right now for me. I would say cornerback, receiver, and I guess tight end, although a tight end kind of fits in with everything else. It's kind of a luxury pick at this point. Tight end, offensive line, if you want to go that way, defensive line or defensive end, all kind of luxury positions to me, Dave.
Look, I think that what's going to be very different this year is, well, first of all, we're not picking in the top 5 or top 10. Like, this is pick 29, and that says a lot where this team is at. You're 30 minutes away from making a Super Bowl this past year. We all remember that very clearly. I think this draft will be interesting because, first of all, like you said, Brant, I don't know if it'll be Brock Bowers. I love me some Brock Bowers. I don't know if they need Bowers and Laporta, but I wouldn't hate it. Like, I think if anyone could get creative with that, it'd probably be Ben Johnson. So yeah, that would be cool. But I really think that this team, they may not be drafting a starter at 29. They may not be drafting a starter in the 2nd round. Like, that's just where this team is at. And that's not to say that they're set at cornerback or they're set at edge or they're set on the offensive line or wide receiver. I just think that there's a real scenario where you may get a rotational guy that's looking to contribute day one, and you may need to be okay with that pick. I'm talking about a guy like Chop Robinson from Penn State or Darius Robinson from Missouri. It's like these are guys on the D line that and there's a whole tier of those guys that that likely will be available around that time. Look, they may not be every down players, and that's okay because that kind of shows where this team is at right now. But you want some day one contributors, which is exactly what Brad Holmes has been known for. And I think it's going to kind of leave their options wide open. Like, I don't think that they absolutely have to go and get a corner at 29. Would I like it and be happy with it? Absolutely. You know, you've heard Kool-Aid McKinstry, like in that sort of tier of cornerback. And I guess I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'd be happy with that pick, but I'm going to just use this as an example. You're not getting Sauce Gardner level of cornerback at 29 overall. You just aren't. Cornerback's a premium position. And normally premium cornerbacks are going to go in the top 10, and you're not seeing a lot of that this year. And maybe the Lions make a trade. Like, will not shock me at all, especially with the draft being in Detroit. We hear the ding, 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 and it's like, oh, the Lions are making a trade and moving up, whether it's to get the top cornerback on their board or, you mentioned Brock Bowers earlier, or maybe an edge rusher. I don't know, but I don't put anything past Brad Holmes. And what we know about Brad is he is going to go and get his guy. One way or another, he'll either wait. Brad Holmes may trade back. I know we're talking about them trading up. Brad may trade back into the 2nd round, into the 30s or maybe the early 40s, and people may lose their minds Thursday night in Detroit as they're waiting all night for them to make that pick. He might trade back and either get a player or get some more draft capital And I think that the collective feeling around Detroit is in Brad we trust. But I'm just kind of prepping people for that too. Like I think there's a lot of directions that you can go here. At the offensive line position, you obviously lose Jonah Jackson. I know they brought back Glasgow, but they've got some big decisions to make here in the very near future about Taylor Decker, and amongst others on that line too. And so it won't shock me at all if they've got an interior offensive lineman high on their board that they're going to take at 29. Like, I'm cool with that too. Brant, I'm also okay with, you mentioned wide receiver. Look, you want to go get you an ex receiver that we know the Lions have needed. Maybe you go get a Keon Coleman that's sitting there at the end of the first round. Like, I would be totally okay with a pick like that. And so I kind of tee that up to say, like, look, man, there's a lot that could happen. But I kind of want to shift it to, we know that there's a lot that can happen. Brant, what are you hoping will happen?
Are you talking at 29 for the Lions?
Yeah, 29.
Okay.
Even in like the first two picks, like, what direction are you hoping that they go?
Okay, let's start there. I'm hoping for a Terrion Arnold, Quinyon Mitchell, a Kool-Aid McKinstry slip where they don't have to move out of 29 and it falls right to them. So to me, that would be the most ideal situation for the first round. But in the second round, maybe and maybe you package up your two third round picks and you try and your second round pick or something like that, and you try to move up to the very first couple spots of the second round, and you go get your maybe Brian Thomas is sitting there, maybe your receiver is still sitting there that you absolutely love, and that you go get like a Keon Coleman. Like Keon Coleman, I haven't seen in many first round mocks, but I've seen him in second round mocks, and I know he's going to go at probably the end of the first, early second. So you like Keon Coleman, you go get him. Like, you pair him with JMO, and Amon Ra comes back, and then all of a sudden you have that trio of receivers. I love the fact if they can go corner, receiver, and then you kind of fill in holes from there, Dave. What do you think of that?
I don't hate that at all. I think that I would also be. I've talked about these positions already, but I'm going to be so comfortable with, and this is how much I trust Brad Holmes. Just in, like, this is what he does. Yeah, I mean, you can argue he's had some misses here and there, but all in all, the guy can scout talent and he knows how to build a football team. And so I think the beauty is they're not pigeonholed into having, like, we absolutely need a cornerback. Like, no matter what, that's our pick. The best cornerback available, we're taking it. I do not believe for a second that that's what Brad Holmes is going to do. And so I'd be happy with the top cornerback on their board, the top offensive lineman on their board, or the top edge rusher or wide receiver on their board. Like, those four for me at 29, I'm going to be so comfortable with, and even into the second round as well, or I should just say their second pick, because who knows, by the time this all shakes out, like, they may not even be picking in the second round. But I do think that they're in a position where, like, they're sitting pretty good, not comfortably, but they're sitting good in terms of like you still have on opposite side Aiden Hutchinson. You still have a guy like James Houston. You brought in this offseason Marcus Davenport, which is, I know he's had some, an injury history. You still got Josh Pascal there. So there's like three guys right there. And then you've got like DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil in the middle, and John Kaminsky's still there in Hutch. Obviously that's your guy, but man, if there's some way that they can help Hutch out, I think that could unlock a lot for that defense. And if they are strong up front, if they are unstoppable up front, it's going to make it easier on whatever cornerback they didn't draft, in the secondary. And so I'm okay with that as well. Go ahead.
Dave, I got a question for you. If Kool-Aid McKinstry is there at 29 and Cooper DeJean is there at 29, which one do you want?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, dude, give me the Big Ten. Give me the Big Ten guy. Give me Cooper DeJean. I don't think Cooper DeJean will be there, Brant. I think he will go off the board before Kool-Aid McKinstry, and I like Kool-Aid McKinstry a lot. I think he's a high IQ player. He strikes me as a Dan Campbell guy too, but so does Cooper DeJean. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with either pick. What about you?
Yeah, I would love Cooper DeJean, but I don't know if he gets past 25 past the Packers. Seems like a Packers type guy. I don't know. It just there's so many good. I just want to say this about this draft because of the COVID situation and everything, and these guys being fifth year seniors and everything like that. It's just like this draft is so deep and there's so much talent from top to bottom in the first two rounds that it's really, if you trade back, you're still going to get a lot of talent late in the second, I believe. So trading back this year is going to be very valuable for a lot of these teams. And I know we're going to talk about a couple of them, but there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking, I believe, in this draft. People, there's going to be a run on a player at some or on a position at some point, and people are going to want to hop in.